Welcome to World Without Rule Law. You're watching another segment of an unscripted moment. Tonight I want to talk about God's will, recognizing God's will for your life, direction, and it's not always an easy thing, right? And I'm not claiming to be an expert on it. This isn't a how-to video. I'm not claiming to have some secret or claim to have some divine inspiration or knowledge, but I think if we're in tune with who God is and we're trying to recognize how He works, how He is working in our lives, I think the key to that a lot is listening. And so my wife and I have been up here in Connecticut for a month or so. We came up just before Christmas. There's some things going on. I'm going to stick around here and help out with a few things. She's going back to Virginia shortly. But you know, it's interesting because if we have two scenarios, scenario one and scenario two. Scenario one is something that you absolutely love. It brings you joy. You've been doing it. You want to return to doing it. You really enjoy it. And it just feels right. So it's a good thing. It's all good. It's all positive. Scenario B, scenario two, is hard. There's aspects of it that are uncomfortable. Certain things that aren't ideal. And so, it is what it is. It's not terrible, but it's not a comfortable thing. Being cryptic kind of is difficult, but it's necessary for the situation. So scenario number two, even though it's difficult, even though it's uncomfortable, even though it's hard, there's a peace about the thought of doing it, right? Like, it's kind of unexplainable, but even though when you weigh the two scenarios, scenario one is really what you want to do, but I think maybe that's the key, because it's what I want to do. But really, the most important thing to know is, what does God want me to do? So why scenario two is more difficult, when I think about it, it brings me like this peace. It just feels right. And so can't ignore that, right? So I look at that and I try to get away from it. I try to say, that's ridiculous. That's not going to work. That's not good. Let me focus on this over here. But it keeps coming back. Like, it won't leave my mind. The second scenario, the least desirable scenario. And when I think about it, it brings me a peace inside. Even though on the surface, on the outside, I want to push it away because it's really not what I want. It's not what I want. And so then we pray, we try to find out, is this really what God wants? And so that involves prayer, right? And then I get to the point where I say, well, it's easy. I could easily dismiss this, because I'll just put it in God's hands and I'll just say, I'm not going to bring it up. I'm not going to mention it. I'm not going to do it. It's a change. It's something that would have to take place to cause a change. I don't want to do it. If it is your will, God, let that come about through someone else's input. Let a different party bring it up. kind of hard to understand without knowing the circumstance. Because of everything going on, I really have to kind of be cryptic for a reason. And so there's that. There's being in prayer about it. There's saying, I'm not going to initiate anything. I'm not going to utter the words that this scenario even exists to anybody. And then that person that is involved in that comes to me and says, hey, you ever consider this? Is that a sign? Is that like, because all along I've had peace about it. And then it's like another piece of the puzzle, because now I acknowledged that I wasn't going to bring it up. I told God that I wasn't going to mention it. I wasn't going to initiate it. And yet it came up. It got mentioned. It was initiated, not by me. So I believe it is. I believe there's no really denying that. All the while, I say to myself, no, I want to go over here and do this thing. But it starts to feel less comfortable, right? Because of everything going on over here, because what I believe is God's leading, it becomes harder to look at that thing that I really want, that I want. I guess it's like, as I start to believe God wants this, it makes me want this even less. I don't know, that probably doesn't make much sense. But it's important to try to be in tune with what God wants for us, what He wants for me. I really want to be, right? Want to be in tune with that. That's the best, safest place we could ever be, is in the center of God's will. When I've heard people say, and people say it all the time, and I've said it before, I believe God has a plan for my life. But I think more accurately, God doesn't necessarily have a plan for my life. God has a plan. And somehow, in some probably insignificant way, my life fits into that plan. And so we start to look at things from that realm, and I don't know, I wish it was ironcladly clear, but you know what, it's becoming so, but it comes in increments and it takes time. I think that's maybe me not trusting it completely. That's maybe that leading is coming in increments to show me that I need to let go of the wheel, stop trying to steer against the tide, and just allow God to work in my life, allow Him to move me in the direction He wants me to go, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's less desirable, even if it's, the less desirable, I guess is the only way to put it, of the two potential scenarios. And that's hard. It's hard for me to do that. But I believe it's what I need to do. I don't know. I know without being able to give the details, I'm usually pretty detailed kind of person when I try to do this, but I can't do that this time. But I guess I'm just thinking into the camera, right? But if anybody has any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear them. And as things progress, it'll become clearer, because I'll make it clear. But anyway, until then, thanks for watching. God bless you.